And I will scream and shout. I'm a dreamer and I'll always be. With my head up, I will chase my destiny. I'm a dreamer and I'll always be. With my head up, I will chase my destiny. My heart is steadfast, my spirit strong. I will chase my passion all life long. I won't look back, I'll push ahead. I'll make the most of every tread. I'm a dreamer and I'll always be. With my hands up, I will chase my destiny. I'm a dreamer and I'll always be. With my hands up, I will chase my destiny. I'm a dreamer and I'll always be. With my hands up, I will chase my destiny. I'm a dreamer and I'll always be. Vision clearer, getting better now. Lines unfolding, levels changing now. My mind is raising, my dreams are taking shape. My dreams are bolder, and I am breaking out. I see the future, it's bright and bold. The path before me will soon unfold. Each step I take, I'll gain more ground. My spirit soars, and my heart resounds. Oh, I'm a dreamer and I'll always be. Oh, with my head up, I will chase my destiny. Oh, I'm a dreamer and I'll always be. Oh, with my head up, I will chase my destiny. Every challenge, I grow in mind. I rise above and I will take the fight. I will never settle, I won't conform. I'll chase my dreams through every storm. I'll break the mold, I'll pave my way. I'll seize each moment, come at me. I won't be held back by fear or doubt. I'll chase my dream and I will scream and shout. I'm a dreamer and I'll always be. With my head up, I will chase my destiny. I'm a dreamer and I'll always be. With my head up, I will chase my destiny. My heart is steadfast, my spirit strong. I will chase my passion all life long. I won't look back, I'll push ahead. I'll make the most of every tread. I'm a dreamer and I'll always be. With my hands up, I will chase my destiny. Destiny. Vision clearer, getting better now. Lines unfolding, levels changing now. My mind is raising, my dreams are taking shape. My dreams are bolder, and I am.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to this week's episode of the Dreamers Download Show. I hope. And we have an amazing guest today. Her name is Layla Pizarro. Layla bridges two distinct realms in her art, figurative realism and non-representational abstraction. She has exhibited her work in places from Santiago de Chile to Times Square in New York, and even in the virtual worlds of Decentraland and Spatial. We're going to go ahead and bring her up on stage. But before we do and we dive in, I have an exciting announcement. For the first time ever, we're giving away a poet proof of engagement token for our show. So the first 30 people to tweet out the link for the show in the room is going to get a free poet. So I am going to go ahead and bring Layla on stage. Good morning, Layla. How are you?
Good morning. I'm doing really good. How are you?
I'm good, thank you. Just getting a good, Wednesday. It's the middle of the week. It's a hump day, so getting ready for the weekend.
Getting ready for the weekend. That's perfect on Wednesday.
I know. Well, you can never start too early or anticipate too early, I guess. Can you hear me pretty good?
I can hear you good. Can you hear me good?
Yep. Our sound is good. That's good. So we're here to share with our audience about your work. And I was, I just dove in and I read about your work and it's really fascinating. So I want to start at the beginning. Can you share more about your background and what got you into art and what excites you about art?
The beginning is a long time ago. I remember back in school, there was a classmate that he would draw so good. He's just like, and he wouldn't study at all. He would just draw. And I was sitting next to him just to watch him draw.
Oh, wow.
It was just like, I always wanted to draw like him. So I would go home and try to draw what he was drawing in class.
Right.
So I think that sort of started there. And then back then also, I was like about sixth grade, 7th grade.
Oh, okay.
And
so you've been an artist your whole life.
I didn't know then, and I kind of came to that realization when I was a bit older, even though I'm always doing art. And I remember back then, because someone asked me recently, when did you figure out you were an artist? And I think it was around this time, because back then in Chile, they would separate the boys and the girls. Like the girl for a certain class, which is one class, the boys would do they would go out and draw the buildings, the architecture of the school, and the girls would stay inside and do some embroidery and nice girl stuff. But I already know how to do all that stuff, and I wanted to draw. So I had to beg my teacher to allow me just to be, in that class with the boys, so I could go out and draw.
Right.
And I did a good job because she allowed me to do it. So I think that's when I actually fought to do what I wanted, which is to draw.
Right.
And then eventually, by pure luck, when I moved to the States when I was about 15, the high school near my house where I was supposed to go, it was an art high school. My mom didn't know. My aunt is the one that took us there. She also had no clue. And so I was just like in the art high school, and then we took the art classes. The teacher, she was really good. She wasn't just a regular art teacher. She was just like, we're going to learn how to paint. We're going to learn how to draw.
Right.
And the following year, I was at the cafeteria, and we had a free break, like 2 hours. We didn't have any class in the morning, and with a friend, we're like, why don't we just sign up for art? Like we both like to draw. Why don't we just do it?
Right.
And then that's when I started. Like I said, all right, let's just sign up for art. And then from there, from high school, I I participated in everything. I would stay after school to just clean the storage unit, just like whatever the kids before me did. I would help
Right.
we had an annual event at the theater, the local theater in Union City.
Uh-huh.
And all the art, like the art classes from grammar school, from all the schools in town, would show that year in the theater department. So I would help organize that event.
Oh,
Um,
nice.
and it just, I was involved with it like 100%, like all my soul, but just in the arts when I was in high school. I also and the teacher noticed this, like Miss Darriman, that was her name.
Right.
She noticed I was interested, so she would just allow me to participate in contests. She would bring me information about summer programs, and I did a summer program in Montclair State, painting and sculpture when I think it was in sophomore and junior year. And then the following year, I went to Rutgers in Mason Gross,
Right.
also for a program. Again, it was painting and sculpture. And then eventually I did a internship like in Israel.
Oh, wow.
I traveled to Israel as an exchange student for art. And there I learned, that I could involve writing and theater and performance in the art.
Right.
So eventually I just went to art school because I didn't know what else to do. I was super young and I was like, this is the only thing I know how to do. So, but sort of started there, my art thing. And I think with the life eventually, got in the way and I stopped. And eventually, like I think about 10 years ago, I was just like, I don't know how to do anything else but draw. So my kids were big and I just said, this is what I'm going to do. And I stopped doing everything else that I was doing, which is basically washing dishes. So I just stopped it and I started painting.
So have you always been a full-time artist, or have you had to do side jobs and such as most everyone? So that's not a bad thing, but
when I was when I got married, I had my kids, I stayed home. I was a stay-at-home mom. And then for a long time, and then I would paint and sometimes, and it was just like I think I told the story when I was doing the text for the soul portraits. I think with them being a mom at home and just involved with that, I became very depressed. I didn't know what it was. And one time I just started just painting like a crazy person, but then I would hide them. Like I just spent one whole day and then I would just hide all the paintings. I would go to the art supply and I would just buy, brushes and paint and everything I needed, and I wouldn't use it for like another 6 months. So all through those years, I was just sort of like, I couldn't let go of the supplies and the art, but I wasn't doing it because since I went to art school, I was always involved. I thought that I was just, supposed to be like this awesome artist that, like a genius. And I wasn't.
Right.
And it was just, and I think a lot of us when we're young, we think that like by the time we're 20 something, we're supposed to like have our work everywhere in the world. And it's not like that. And then with being a mom and the kids' school and this and that, sort of my life, we just kept on going this and that way. And then the depression, well, it was just an extra layer on it. Eventually, I was like, I need to get a job. So I got a job at a call center, and that wasn't doing it either. That made the whole depression thing worse. Until one day I just started like, I was crying over like washing dishes. And I was just like, I can't keep on doing this. And I was just like, what can I do? And I was like, I know how to draw. I just draw. And so I went to the basement. I had moved like 5 times by then. I was in Chile and I had brought my art supplies that I bought in New York when I lived in the States. I brought them to Chile. Like about 10 years later, after they were like moved from city to city within Chile, I went to the basement. I got them. I started opening those oils. I didn't know how to use them. I started drawing. Well, the drawings were the worst. And I was just like, I used to draw so good and these things are so bad. So I started researching like, all right, I need to take a workshop. And then I found a figure drawing workshop. And then in that place, I was at a university that had like workshops. I sort of like, when I was in front of that easel, with the charcoal in my hand and a model in front of me, and I was drawing, it wasn't a good drawing. It was just like, I was breathing again. I was just like everything was just came, like it made sense in life.
Right.
And then the professor there, she goes, "Listen, Layla, I have a year-long program that I do at a studio. I'm a studio. You want to come join us?" I said yes right away. So I didn't even ask her how much it was. I was like, yes,
Right.
yes, I'll do anything. I want it. I just pay for it and I go there. And then in that program, it was with her. Her name is Magdalena Vial. She's a really good artist in Chile. She sort of like brought back everything I had learned.
Mm-hmm.
She brought it back.
Right.
And she would give me instructions, very simple instructions, and I would look at her like, why is she not telling me details? And she would just like, and then I would go home and practice, and then I think her invitation to participate in her workshop, it just sparkled, like just let me out of
Right.
what I was.
Right.
And then I think that's when the whole thing it started for me, like just I don't know. It's so I feel like I've been an artist all my life. I just
Right.
wasn't able to get my hands dirty the whole time.
Right. Right. Well, I mean, I think your experience is, I think, pretty common for women in general, because, just that you get married and then you kind of forget and you start raising your children, and then you focus, you prioritize them and not yourself as much anymore. Right.
Yeah, and I think I always was trying to blame somebody for this, for what happened, but I think it was all myself. I had the support from my family, from everyone. I mean, nobody ever stopped me.
Right.
Everybody would be like, everybody knew that I was an artist, but it was me, the one that it was just like, but I gotta be a mom. My mom was a hippie, so I was raised very alternative and all this, and I was just like, I
Right.
wanted to be the mom on the TV.
Right.
And I just like focus like on that. I'm a Virgo, so I also have to mention that, because I was like, I gotta be the best mom ever. And
Right.
within that, I lost myself.
Right.
And then my kids turn out to be artists. My son is just gonna graduate art school in a few months, and my daughter also like it's doing art, like audiovisual. Then it's like, and my husband is a scientist. I was just like, even though I tried to push them, everyone ended up being an artist anyway.
Well, I mean, I have found in my experience that art kind of runs in families, or artistic talent, I think. Some people have an eye for something or whatever. I mean, my mother was an artist per se. She never called herself an artist, but she was very creative, and she sewed and she did lots of creative outlets. So I think, I don't think we give women enough credit for their artistic ability. It just doesn't maybe express itself in oil painting all the time.
Yeah. Well, and then the comments you get when I was taking the series, I was already having exhibitions. I had an exhibition in Dubai, and I went to visit my husband's family in Miami, and we were there, and one of his relatives, she goes, "Oh, that's so nice. That's so nice that you get to entertain yourself." Because I was, for everyone else, I'm just a wife that her husband works, and then he looked at her. He goes, "No, that's her job. She works doing art." And she just like looked perplexed, like she couldn't understand it. She was like, "Well, at least you don't get bored, you get entertained." And that's just one comment out of many. Like, even within my own family, I mean, one of my aunts, when I had my first solo show, it was online, so it was during the pandemic, and I wrote the text along with the curator, and she read it, and I was online watching her reading it, and she goes, "Oh my God, Layla, you're so smart. I didn't know you were smart. Did you write this?" And I was like, "Well, I wrote it, but also as a co-author with the curator." And she was like, "Oh my God." And then my cousin passed by, and she goes, "Oh my God, you were really smart all this time. Why were you hiding it?" And I was just like,
I wasn't hiding it.
I wasn't hiding it. It just, I interview, because I have a podcast now and I interview a lot of artists, and most women, they say the same thing. "It's so pretty. You must paint flowers." Like, and I was just like, I do paint flowers, but it's not a bad thing. Like,
Right.
Yeah, it's crazy for women. It's different.
I think that brings us to my next question. I mean, your work is it bridges like figurative realism and non-representational abstraction. And, I wanted to find out, what influences you, your daily experience? I mean, how do your daily experiences, influence your art? I mean, how do you bring that in? And maybe explain that to some people that aren't, don't have the knowledge of, what figurative realism or non-representational abstraction is. I mean, I know those are big words, so simplify it for us.
I think figurative would be anything that looks like something, like a
Right.
chair, like a human, like
And
a
real.
tree.
Right.
Yeah, real. And abstraction, it's just everything that it's just
That's not
it's stained
real.
on a paper, or just brush strokes, or anything that doesn't look real. It's just maybe
Right.
just colors of
Right.
forms.
Well, and your work is actually expanded my, with I like the figurative realism. I like that. And then, bringing in the abstract part of it brings another element. So, how do your daily experiences influence your art?
I think it depends. I think it's my life. It's
Right.
really my art. It's just my life is what I'm experiencing at the moment, or something that I already experienced, or things that are in my head that I can't get out and I have to express it. With photography, I'm usually with my phone or my camera. I always have either or at hand. So if I'm walking around and I see something, I was like, I need to get that, because I see a feeling, a moment, an emotion, and I just go get it.
Right.
And then with some other times, I'm like, I feel it a certain way, and I plan the project.
Right.
Like with the self-portraits that I did, that are photography.
I really enjoyed reading that and looking at some of the work at there. Yeah.
The self-portraits were sort of like, since I was moving to a new city, and I thought it was gonna be easy, but at the same time I was looking for outlets. So for then I planned it before coming to Buenos Aires, that I was just gonna go out and take self-portraits. And then it was just like, it sort of made the transition easier, because I got to know the city better, and then I got to connect with the city, like history. It reminded me of places that have nothing to do with Buenos Aires, but I was just like, oh, this reminds me of that, it reminds me of this. So it was sort of like a therapy section.
Right.
With this watercolors that you see on the back,
Yeah.
these are abstractions, and this one came. It's a long story for them. Before
we have a few minutes, so go ahead.
Before coming to Buenos Aires, I knew I was coming. We were packing everything, and then I have most of my supplies, put away. And then I was sitting on my dining table, which was mostly what it was left in the living room. And I was just like, I was already missing like a home, because all my work is about missing home or finding out where I belong. I just figured that out. I better go. And then I was sitting there, and then I said, hey, I got all these photographs on my phone from like all these cities that I grew up, from the cities that my mom grew up. My mom passed away, and then I was thinking, I'm moving to Buenos Aires. I was thinking about her, and I was like, things that my mom loved so much. And I was like, I should just do a training on it, like an AI training on it. So
right.
On the spot, I did it. I grabbed my phone. I just started doing it. I just selecting the photos, and eventually I got the training. I started generating images, videos, and I was generating them. I was just like, oh my God, I remember that. I remember that place, and I was remembering places that they were not real, in places that I had never been. Just by, I remember, because my aunts used to talk about it when I was like younger, like, I don't know, the 70s, 80s. Right. So I was remember the places, but in a different time. And I thought that was crazy.
Right.
And I liked the way it was moving, like sort of like a waves and like tones and colors. So then I said, all right, then we could do watercolors with this.
Oh, yes.
And then I came to Buenos Aires, and I was just like, all right, we're going to do the watercolors of the generated images. But then I was like, I don't know, maybe I should do watercolors to later generate images. But there's sort of still like wavy with a horizon, the land, the sky, and sort of everything in between. So I think from November to about January, I just did this watercolors.
And these are the ones that are behind you.
That's the ones that are behind me. Okay. Sort of embracing this. It was from my photos to the AI to the generative images, and then just the watercolors. But they're not based on it. I wasn't looking at it, but it comes from that stream of thought.
Right.
So it came basically for something very figurative to do this abstraction.
Right.
And I like that. I like sort of like, someone asked me one time, well, that's all the artists. They're like, what you like better, figurative or abstraction? And I'm like, I always say abstraction, because when you draw, you paint anything, you start with little patches of paint or little lines to do a
Right.
drawing, and you build from that. So you
Right.
start with nothing, you have an abstraction, and then all of a sudden you have a face or a vase, or like I don't know, a cabin, whatever. It just
Right.
comes to you like after a few hours of working.
Right. Right.
So it's a build up, and then once you have that, let's say you have a cabin, you want to just take it apart, and then you become abstraction. So I like all that. I like that journey from either abstraction to figurative or back and forth.
Right.
And on that note, I also like the analog to digital. I like how I don't see it as digital art or physical art. It's just
Right.
art for me, because
Right. Right.
they're all just tools, and you can mix and match. Like,
Right.
doesn't
Right.
have to choose. Like, why do I have to choose one thing or the other?
Right. Well,
So,
I mean, and you think back, and even if you're a painter or whatever, you don't mix your own paints anymore.
yeah,
I mean, I agree with you. Digital, or, they're just tools. Another
yeah,
paint, another way to provide like a glimpse into your head of what you see. And that's
yeah.
it.
I agree, and I think you have to start finding, like, for me, I think I'm mostly experimenting. Like, I'm always trying to find the best tool or the best technique to express what is in my head.
Right.
Like when we talked last time for the exhibition of Mujeres
Oh, yes.
Latina Americanas,
Yes.
that one, it was just like, I had this thought in my head. I was like, I can't believe I'm still marching for women's rights every May. And I was pissed because of that. And I was hot because it's March, it's really hot. And I was just like, thinking upon it, and I kept saying in my head. And then for like over a year, I was like, how I could get all these women together, how I could get everything together. And that's what eventually came, I took a workshop, and it was like, with an AI training, I could put them all together. So I just like, that was the best technique for that. And then I needed, and it was digital sort of little videos, which I still haven't released the whole collection. And then it was just like, I need more time with these women. So I started reading about them. So I started doing the painting based on the images, just because I needed more time.
Right.
There's another series of work that I have. It's called Ocean View, Beyond the Buildings.
Okay. Is that on Foundation?
That's on Foundation.
Okay. Because I was going to post something from your, to show your work. So let me get over there.
Once I start talking, I go on a roll because I get so excited.
That's why you're here. I mean, as artists, we don't get a lot of opportunity to kind of just tell our story. So that's my goal here, is to be able to
thank you.
Give artists. I mean, and you do that too. I mean, with the things that you do. So,
yeah, I know, but the podcast, I like artists to tell the story, because sometimes they don't get to, and then it's like it's something else.
Right. I'm gonna post your city buses had come up. So
city buses, yeah, that's the one. It's
okay.
One of the
So let me go ahead and share that. Share my screen, and let's see, city buses right here, and I'm going to put us on the side here. Okay, it already did. All right, awesome.
City buses came with, when I first arrived in Buenos Aires. I went out to get these self-portraits, my reflection on the store's windows. And then I walked one block away from where I was staying, and I saw this. It was a bus terminal. And I saw these buses coming out of us. I was like, what is that? Because they had these colors, and the color scheme was just like, I never seen it in a bus before.
Right.
It was just the bus itself was art. And I just stood in that corner with the camera taking photographs of these buses. And then I just went on my way, and I started taking. That day, I was like, I'm gonna take this portraits, and I'm also gonna buy some, food, groceries. So that's what I do. I was gonna go buy groceries and then take the photos in between. But I stayed an hour taking these photographs, and then I get home a few days later. I started looking at them to edit them, and I was like, "Oh my God!" You could see the city, like the reflection of the city. You could see the sky. So then I went out to get photographs of these buses intentionally, but always on my way to somewhere. I can't even ride a bike just for fun. I have to go somewhere to ride the bike. So like in one of these pictures, I was going to meet a friend at a coffee shop, and it was about 40-minute distant walking. I was like, I'll walk and I'll take pictures on my way there.
Right.
And that's what I got, the two kids coming out of a bus, because it was at the end of the summer, the school year, and it was summer.
Right.
And then I got the reflection of the building on the back.
Yeah, no, I really like that one. And I also like this one, the carnival.
That was great. That was this summer. We knew there were carnivals here in Buenos Aires, but we didn't know how they were. And then with my husband, we were like, let's go to the carnival. And I was like, let's go check it out. And so we started walking, and then the street where the carnival was, it was packed. We were ready. We was too late when we got there, and it was like live music. Everybody was happy and excited. And then we said, why don't we go through the side streets? So we started walking through a side street, and there's school buses line up. And then with the people, so the people that were performing, they were just coming out of these buses, like, on the side street. Right. And that's when I took a lot of these pictures. And I like this one in particular because you can't really tell that it's a bus, but you could tell what's going on. Right.
Yeah, it's a little, I like it because it made you like look twice.
Yes.
Focus and gain your attention. That's kind of what I liked about it.
And that's what I think I tried in my work. I look twice. There's more there.
Right.
There's always more there, even the ones that you just see the bus plane and then there's nothing else. But if you focus on the bus, you're going to see the reflection of the city on the window. You're going to see the people inside, how they look, are they happy, they're upset, they're tired. And I think sometimes with Twitter feeds, you just pass by. I done it myself. I just pass by. And then every once in a while, one artwork just, catches my attention and I stop. But I think with each artwork, we should give a little more justice and give them a little time. Like, just pause and look at it.
Right.
That's what I want with all my work. Just stop and look. There is more.
Right. Capture somebody's attention. Well, I mean, in today's world, your attention is valuable. I mean, people are, with everything, all the media coming at you at all points, really. It's very rare that people just kind of, we're like a 10-second person. Or, if it doesn't grab your attention in 10 seconds, you're off to something else,
Yeah.
And I think with bringing that into your work, people want to look further into the image and well, what did she see? Because I'm a photographer also. I mean, that's just one of my tools. And, of course, you want to.
I'm sorry, there's a helicopter going by. It never happens, but obviously right now it's a helicopter passing right by.
That's funny.
Hear you.
Right.
Hold on, let me see. I'm gonna close the window. See if that.
Okay. Okay. Thanks for everybody who's joined us. We appreciate you.
It was so quiet. I didn't realize the window was open.
Oh, well, now you're in Argentina?
Yes.
Okay. So you're in spring also, aren't you?
Yeah, we're in spring. No, it's fall. We're going into winter.
Oh, okay. So you're opposite of us.
Yes, but this weather here, it's like it's spring. That's what I said yes right away without questioning it.
Right.
Because it's just like it was a hot summer, and then it's like it's sort of fall, and you think you're gonna start getting your jackets out, and not yet. It's just so beautiful, but the trees, the leaves are brown and they're falling. It's like the perfect fall. Like
my favorite times of the year. Well, my favorite season of the year is gardening, but I do. We're going, into spring, but it's here in Colorado. But it's it's I like all time. I like all seasons. That's the change. I think that's part of life. When I lived in San Diego, and I went to the grad school there, and the weather was pretty even keel. I mean, you didn't get a lot of ups and downs, so it got boring. Actually, I like the change of the seasons. It helps me pass the time because I'm a visual person. So
me too. I like to change it, and I like to see, like, I lived in New Jersey. I lived right across from Manhattan in New Jersey, and it was just that weather there. It's just it's summer, it's spring, and then comes it's just awesome. The winters, I love winters.
Well, you're right. I mean, it gives you a different. You're not feeling I can do more art in the winter because I'm inside, and when I'm outside, I want to be outside.
Yeah. Oh, me too. I think winter for me, I'm more productive because I do more.
Right.
And the summer, it just gets hot, and it just I can't. I get cranky.
Right. So,
yeah.
You've exhibited around the world. I mean, amazing places. What are some of? Well, first I wanted to ask how many, people that are online or in the DAO or whatever, you want to get your stuff out into the real world. So a lot of times, how many galleries or how many submissions do you have to make to get included in shows? I mean, do you do that on a regular basis? What's your process?
I do that on a regular basis. It's a lot. You mostly get to know, and then every once in a while you get a yes.
Right.
And I learned at the beginning, also when I was younger, I was so scared to apply to make a submission to any gallery or anything for that matter. And I never got accepted to anything because I never apply.
Right.
And then when I made the decision, I said, I'm just gonna do art now. And then a friend of mine, she goes, start submitting work to galleries. And I looked at her and I said, but my work is not there yet. She goes, no, it's not there. She goes, you're not gonna get in. She goes, but start doing it because you have no clue how to submit work. You have no clue how to do anything. She goes, just start doing it, start getting those no's. And then each time you apply, you submit work to new places, it's gonna get better. And then since you're submitting work and you have to do this, your actually artwork is gonna get better. Because
right.
She goes, you wanna be a professional artist or just as a hobby? What do you want?
Right.
And I started doing it and I got lots of no's. For a year and a half, lots of no's. And eventually one of the same galleries that said no, said yes.
Oh, wow.
And they didn't even remember me that I had applied before.
Right. Well, I mean, it's not a personal thing when they're choosing, or they're curating something. It's not, oh, no, we can't choose that because, of whatever. But you're right. I mean, I think that's really an important part of being a professional art. I mean, if you want to be a professional artist, you have to exhibit. Otherwise, you're just doing it for yourself.
Yeah, and I mean, I have lots of work put away in my closet, so I and it's sort of, I like showing it. Before I didn't because I wasn't confident enough,
right,
about myself, and then the work. So it was just I needed to be confident as a person, and then I became confident about the work. But when you exhibit, you just have reaction from people. It's so much different. When I had work for 2 paintings that they were in the art fair in Hong Kong. And then I got someone just share my work on their Instagram. And she wrote, what she wrote was she was standing in front of the painting and she was feeling this anxiety and this anger and all this stuff. And the painting was full of colors, but it was sort of crayons. And when I read that, what she wrote, I started crying because I was like, that's what I was feeling when I was making them. Even though it was just packed with color, I was crying making them because my anxiety was just so high. And I
Right.
remember being my family is super supportive, so I called my cousin and I said, I have to paint, and she's like, all right, what do you need? I just need you to be on the phone with me. So I had her here on my ear, and she was working, so I could hear like click, 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 you know, her typing. And then she stayed with me. And then I was just doing this work, and eventually I said, you know, you go hang up now, I don't need you no more. And I just kept on doing the painting, but I couldn't get myself to start. And these two paintings went there, and this one person felt it.
Oh, wow.
And I was just like, it was just amazing for me.
Well, and it's amazing that she was able to post it and you were able to see it. The post,
yes,
you know,
because I
because
took a lot of pictures.
right, because a lot of times, you know, people will see or react to your art or to your work, and you don't have any idea, you know, that experience was provoked by your piece, and so that was really special.
It was super, and it was my first time that someone actually said it in Texas. So it was just like I never had that before. She was just like, you know, I'm doing something here, and then she wrote, I could just sit here and stare at this for hours, and it was just like you know, two things happened with that painting. One, my anxiety just went away after I was done. I was like, and then when I sent it, I was just go away. Like I want these two paintings to go away, like because it was just too stressful. And then it was like, so the anxieties were there, and then somebody else saw it and experienced it. She said that it was taking her anxieties away.
Wow.
Like she felt it, and then it was taking it away from her. So it was just like, eventually those paintings got burned and they disappear. Like on the way back from that exhibition,
really?
They got lost, and then they found out that they were burned in customs because of some sanitary issue.
Oh,
so it was
my
just like,
gosh.
when I found out, I was sad because I was just like, how did this happen?
Right.
But then at the same time, I was just like, my stress, her stress were in those paintings, and now it's gone because the paintings, and I only have pictures of them. I don't have anything else.
Right.
So in a way, they became poetic, sort of.
That is poetic.
And maybe that's just my artist brain thinking, you know, poetically. But like, you know, I got mad that it got burned, and I was like at the gallery, like, why? And then like a few minutes later, I was like, oh, no, that's fine. They just, you know, it's fine.
It did
Let all that go away.
You know, yeah, I think you're right. I think it, you know, it's life, right? Nothing lasts forever. Like, and it's good that you put all that emotion and anxiety into it, and it really helps somebody else also.
Yeah. So I was really happy about that. And then the next time I got a comment that actually made me really emotional, again with Ocean View, on Twitter, someone, when I was sharing it last year, someone wrote about it, and
Oh, wow.
you know, on the comments, and I was just like, and I couldn't express with words why I did that series, or why it was out there, or why it is the way it is. And that person wrote what I was experiencing.
Wow.
It's another photographer. And it was just like, I was so thankful because I couldn't get those words out. And then from that, if I was able to like talk about it and explain it a little more, and just, you know, say what the work was about. But I couldn't have done it without that comment. Of the person that actually understood the work.
Right.
So I don't know. I think at the beginning I was just doing art because that was the only thing I knew how to do.
Mm-hmm.
And then eventually I just did it to just sort of like express or connect with other people. And now that we are in the Web3 and with this NFT things, I feel like I found this crazy community that I could talk about it, and they could talk to me about it. Like, I'm not gonna bore them to death, and they're not gonna bore me to death when they talk about their work. I'm excited about it. Right.
You know, you're right. I mean, I think that, how long have you been in the NFT space? I mean, when did you kind of become interested in using NFTs as a selling?
2021.
Okay. So a couple years.
Yeah. Like like 2.5, 3, I don't know.
Right.
I think it was
Well,
2021. When was the pandemic? The pandemic was 2020, right?
who introduced you to NFTs?
It was my husband. He always sends me articles like to
Uh-huh.
read, and I never do. And that was and
But
but
you read this
he's
one.
hopeful like when I read it. Yes. I was doing during the pandemic, I was doing digital art with my iPad. I was doing digital art.
Right.
And I'm always been interested in digital art, but it just I never really did it. I took workshops and took classes. I'm always taking a class of something.
Right.
Always, even when I wasn't really doing art full time, I was just taking classes. And then so I was doing all this digital work, and then we were seeing a lot of digital work in on Instagram. And we were like, oh, how can we buy that? That would be so awesome to have. And then that's how our conversation was like, because during the pandemic, we bought art and we got drunk. That's what we did. we just have we just bought art. We would just contact, we get up, something, a bottle of wine. And we would just like, after, that we would drink and we'd be like, oh, look at this. Oh, let's get it. So we would just contact the artist. We would buy the artwork and then we would just go pick it up or wait for it to come to the house.
Right.
So we were like in that sense of like, we want to buy art. And then we wanted to buy this digital artwork. So he sent me the article and I started reading it. And I was like, oh, we could buy artwork. And like the artwork that we want to buy, we could just do it here. And then we saw the prices and we're like, oh, no, we cannot afford this. It was like, we cannot afford this.
Right.
I mean, what we liked, it was already like way too expensive. And that because we had a list of what we wanted really. So
right.
And then I said, hey, but I have digital artwork. I could put it here. And I remember I had found out about Bitcoin way back when at the beginning.
Right.
And back then it was just like, we didn't have that much money. So anything to invest on it would have been too much for us at the time. So we sort of missed it. And I was like, I'm not going to miss this one because I'm an artist. I'm doing digital art and I'm just going to do it. Right. And then that's what I get in. I dove in it 100%. I had a podcast back then that I had started during the pandemic.
Right.
So I started looking for NFT artists.
Yeah.
So and because I wanted to know more. So I was like, we're gonna interview NFT artists. And that's little by little I started learning more. I became part of the community. I would still come on the spaces to talk, like rooms back then. It was Clubhouse. And I was like giggling like a 15-year-old. Because I was so nervous. I was like, the whole time laughing. But eventually, like, I have really good friends from this space. Like, people that I talk, during the day. Like, just like I talk to my sister in a message, I have the same thing here. And it's sort of like, that's what I always say. Like, it's the people I was waiting for. Or I needed in my life. They were here. And then we just sort of connected. All they just... Well, crazy artists.
It's funny because I have a little story that relates to that. Is there's a gallery, I live in a little town in Colorado, and there's a local gallery, and I went in on a Saturday. They had a showing, and so I was trying to kind of find I'd been in NFTs and I was doing digital art, but I was trying to find my tribe, people that I could connect with. And I figured, oh, they're artists. We'll connect, right? So I went, and it was like, no, we didn't connect. They didn't know anything about digital art. They had no idea what an NFT was. And it was like, yeah, okay, my tribe is on Twitter. No. Or the people that I'm going to connect with are on Twitter. So.
Yeah, and I think we're very serious about our work. Mm-hmm. But we're also very, silly in a sort of way. We're not just, some people that are a little more tense. But most of us are not. We're very, relaxed, but we're serious about what we do.
Right.
And incorporating new technologies, it's I mean, why not? It's another extra tool. And it's going to be hard at the beginning, and it's not going to come out good.
Right. And any new technology that's introduced is always controversial. I mean, the camera was controversial when it was invented. and artists started, I mean, it really wasn't invented for artists. I mean, it was invented, to document things. But and
it was used so long. Like I remember I saw a painting and I was with my in-laws, and I saw a huge painting, and then someone, one of my relatives was like, "Oh, look at that painting, it's so good. I wonder how can he draw it? Does he, because it was large. Does he go in a ladder? Like, how do he does that?" And I was looking at it, and I was like, "Oh no, that's just a projector. He just projected the image in it." And I was able to tell, and then, but I didn't mean in a bad way. I meant it like as a tool. And then she was like, "Oh, I don't like it that much." And I was just looked at her. I was like, art has been using projectors sort of from the beginning. Like, we always had that tool, you know, like it is like camera lucida, which is they used to trace it. The Renaissance artists used to use this machine to trace sections of the city, and then go to the studio and then, you know, put them together like a collage.
Exactly.
We always have used it, and then that's what you have. And there's a big, when you go through our history, it's noticeable when the camera lucida started being used to before. Like you could tell when it was being used. And why not? Like, I mean, I don't know. I think just use the tools you have.
I mean, I think that, you know, having an understanding of the historical art world is really important for self-taught artists. And so these are good ways to introduce that information to them, because they don't, you know, I mean, unless you dive deep onto YouTube or something, you really, and I do all the time. I mean, I forget the guy's name, but he does a lot of art history stuff. So you know, I mean, the perceptions that people have about art is often wrong. So, you know, especially the history.
No, they think that you were born with this talent. Like, you were born and then you were able to draw like this awesome images right away. And it's just like, no, everyone is trained. And like, because you see someone like Picasso, that when he was young, he was able to do this awesome figure, like very realistic, you know, landscapes of human figures. And then, but they don't understand that, they don't know that he's been painting. Well, he was painting. He was 6 years old. His father was a teacher. His father used to teach painting. So in a sense, sometimes I feel bad for him, and I'm like, you know, because I feel like my mom was trying to teach me something. She wasn't that nice when I couldn't get it. So imagine your father you painting, and your father is teaching you. You know, you got a color wrong, you probably got yelled at. And then, you know, sort of at the end, when he goes into this abstractions, you understand it, you know, because he was painting figurative since he was very, very little. The same thing with Dali. And Artemisa, she was also a daughter. I don't know if her father was also an artist or a teacher of painting. So all these people, that had somebody from very young, teaching them how to do it. So I started a little later. I started when I was like 15. Then I had a little break. So then I'm not gonna put myself in their timeline. I'm gonna put in my timeline now. Like, you know, like I have a cousin just recently. She had a show in New York, in Manhattan. And she goes, it's all emergent artists. Everybody was very young. And I said, but you're in the same level as them. They're very young. They're in their 20s. We're in our 40s. But we are the same level because we started later. So we going on the same track. They just started before us. It doesn't, no worries. Like, you know, now we live so much longer. So it's okay.
Oh, I know, right? We're all, you know, we're just middle-aged right now.
Yeah. And my brain is 15. Like all like in my brain didn't mature that much. So,
I mean,
it knows a lot more, but the maturity level, it just didn't not that up
there. I mean, you've been a panelist on a lot of forums and conferences and stuff. How has those experiences shaped what your perspective on art? I mean, you know, do you, you know, from what my understanding is in the traditional art world, self-taught artists aren't as well received often. Is that true? Because you know, you have you know, you went to art school.
I think it's true. I think within the art school, they're not received so well. But I also think but but they are eventually they are taken seriously. And I think it only comes on the artist itself. If you are a self-taught artist and then you learn how to paint, but let's say you learn how to paint cups, you're painting cups, but you don't try a little more. You don't even YouTube. I watch so many YouTube videos. I learned so much.
I know.
I mean, I went to art school, but I still like stuff that I don't know. And then I think you have to keep on improving yourself, keep on challenging yourself. And I think sometimes some self-taught artists, they do not challenge themselves. They just say, oh no, but I'm self-taught and they're not accepting me. It doesn't matter that they don't accept you. That's not your issue. It's their issue.
Exactly.
You just had to keep working and keep on doing your work and keep on improving and keep on changing. So now you're doing cups, and then you're gonna do the plate underneath the cup, and then you're gonna do the spoon, and then eventually you're not gonna do the spoon's other page. You're gonna do a table that is empty, and then you go evolving. So I think for all artists, we just don't worry about what everyone else says. Even in art school, our teachers are like sometimes are very mean. Like some of them are really good, and others are like they tell you straight out, like don't ever paint again. And then
my God, how rude!
Our artist comes out to be like the best painter ever.
Right.
So
yeah, I mean,
it's dedication.
Right. You're right. I mean, I think the one thing that I would appreciate as an artist is that to get feedback or constructive feedback. Because it's not always
if someone doesn't like it, don't take it personally.
Right. Well, and I think that's with anything. Like if you're writing and you have an editor and it's not personal, they're just trying to improve your work and make it more clear. So, art is so subjective. And if you like it, that's all that matters, right?
And I think with everything in life we could improve.
Right, of course.
If you have a big painting and someone says, you know what, this corner right here is very interesting, keep on developing that, something like that.
Right.
You take in that and you move on and you develop it. And I also think it's within art, it's quantity over quality.
Right.
You gotta do a lot.
Yes.
Don't matter if it's good, doesn't matter if it's bad. You just do a lot.
Right.
Because eventually from that exercise, you're gonna become really good.
Right.
So it's quantity. Just do a lot of bad artwork. Because the good one is gonna come. Like some of these watercolors are horrendous.
Right.
But as a whole, they look really great. And then some of them are like, I'm in love with them. I'm like, oh, I can't believe that one came out so good. But it's usually like when I start painting them, like the first sets, they're like, they're all right. And then towards like the end of the day, when I done a few more, those are the ones that come out better. Those are the ones that are more interested. When I start analyzing and seeing like, all right, this works, this doesn't work. And I think just don't be afraid to do it. And also you don't have to finish all your work. I think a lot of people are like, they just start painting or drawing or whatever, and they want to finish it. And then and it has to be a masterpiece when it's done. You know what? Sometimes you see a painting and it's not gonna work out.
Right.
Leave it there.
Well, and sometimes, as an artist, you can go back to some of your work and go, God, at the time I really liked that, but right now I don't really like that anymore. And it's okay.
And that's when you're
going through a process.
And then you decide then whether you want to keep it as is, so as a journal of what you've been doing, or paint it over.
Right,
fix
exactly.
A little something,
Right.
And a lot of times when you fix a little something, you can make it worse. but then you fix that little something that you made it worse, and it come out good. Like I find with my watercolors, when I start doing like sort of the abstractions where they're bigger.
Right.
I get really into it, and I'm like, oh, it's good. This is it. I'm gonna step right here, and then I walk away. I come back. I'm like, it just needs this little something, and I do that little something, and it was just like, oh no, that it didn't need it. But then in that exercise that I messed up a painting, I either leave it as is and I leave, and then I come. This watercolors, you could play with it later, and then at the end, something comes out of it. Because it's through the experimenting, the expressing, and then that that experience, that what you just learn, you take it on to another piece of work.
Right.
So I think
Well,
any
and
artist,
so I guess that is
the
rule is to just keep doing it. I mean, so have a, when I wasn't working, I was getting up and spending probably most of my day doing art. And so I think it's just the idea of actually doing something every day in art, whether you like it or not,
Yes, I agree. And then go out to see to the galleries, go to see shows,
right,
do all that stuff, because you're gonna find interesting ways that how other artists are getting solutions to little problems that they had, either with a photograph or a painting or a sculpture. It's very interested, and then you think that all the inspiration not only doesn't come from here, it comes from the outside. And then go look at art. And if you're in a place that there's not that many art, like I used to live in a very tiny town, and we had no art galleries or anything. And then the ones that were closest, they weren't that good. So that's back then. I used to be on YouTube all the time. I used to watch the documentaries about artists. I used to look at art books. That's how I got my take of looking at other people's artwork. Now I'm one of the luckiest people in the world, because I'm here in Buenos Aires, and the galleries are amazing, the museums are amazing. It's just like it's a next level,
right?
And so I'm very privileged now. So I'm gonna take advantage of it. The other day, on the weekend, I was just walking an empty street, and there was a gallery, and we thought it was closed. And we went inside, and we asked the guards, I said, "Hey, can we come inside?" Like very very timid,
right?
And the guard goes, "No, you're welcome. Just come in. It was free of charge." And there was an exhibition that he was just like, it was mind blowing. It was just so good.
Right.
So and then I came home, and I was so inspired to do other things and just get out there. So I think also just try to do that. Like,
I think
just
that's good
expose
advice.
yourself to other art.
Right. That's very good advice. Do you have upcoming projects that you want to talk about? Anything that's new coming up that's exciting? Your goals for that, or any projects?
There's a few. I think the first one I would say, when I'm going to start recording, because we had a podcast, it's called Arte y Labia. It's in Spanish. We interview artists, and we're going to start recording tomorrow.
Oh, nice.
Our third season, because we stopped for a little bit because of the move. So that's exciting. I'm really happy about that.
Good.
And then my own personal, I have a new job coming.
Nice.
Of a series called Wallpaper. And it's called
Tell
Wallpaper because it has a lot of meaning. Yeah, it's I think it's on Instagram, and I share a little bit on Twitter.
Okay.
It's from the AI, from the one I spoke before, from the pictures of my hometown.
Okay.
And I woke up at 1:30 in the morning a few weeks back, and it was just like, I woke up, and then that series was like, let me go. I need to get I need to go into the world. And I didn't fall back to sleep until 7. And I made a tweet about it. I said, all right, I'm letting these people go because they can't let me sleep. So I'm focusing on now sharing it. And so it was trained last year. All the images were generated last year. I edited them on Lightroom as a photograph. I'm calling it experimental photography, because it was just photos, and I'm really experimenting.
Okay.
And it's called Wallpaper because I noticed that there were my memories in it, or they're reminding me of places. And then when I showed it to other family members that do not live in Chile, they were like, "Oh, that's Valparaíso. Valparaíso it's sort of the city and the province."
Oh, wow.
So it reminded them of that city, even though it was abstract.
Oh,
even though it was AI, it was abstraction.
Right.
It reminded them that of this place. And I even asked a friend of mine, he's Chilean as well. He's not from Valparaíso, but he knows it. So I sent him and said, "What does this say to you?" And he goes, "Valparaíso." So it's just sort of like a collective memory, but also personal.
Right.
And Wallpaper, it's sort of like, because I like that short story Yellow Wallpaper, that things were inside the paper, and then there was stories going on. So I feel like it's sort of that going on in the background, the memories, because these images are not real. Some of them are very abstract. some of them you can tell something. So it was just like sort of what's going on in the background. And then playing with the wallpaper, because I went out to look what does wallpaper means.
Right.
And in the art world, when there's with a type of art that it's not sophisticated enough, let's say, they call it, oh, that's wallpaper art. Oh, that's the core art.
Are these?
So I also playing with that word wallpaper.
Right. Where can I find that online? I was going to share it with people.
On Instagram. Do you have?
Oh yeah, let me look on
Instagram. You can find it.
Okay.
Yeah. And then so sort of like AI is still not accepted, and some artists do not accept AI as a tool yet.
Yeah.
So I also like that, like sort of like I'm using artificial intelligence, wallpaper, and having those sort of double meaning to it.
Okay.
And the thing is in about 2 weeks I'm gonna release them. I'm gonna actually make that drop, and I'm quite excited. And I think in this Web3 is everything has to be fast, and this is for them from when I did it and I finished it to now is a year, so it's gonna be released sort of a year after. Okay. It was just already done. No, that's Twitter.
Oh, sorry. Let me stop sharing that or go to, hold on. I had pulled it up. I just shared the wrong screen. Hold on.
No worries.
Okay. Let me get back here. It's, let's see here. Yeah, I wanted to share that because you were, talking about it.
Yeah, it's like I mean, it's always something that I forget to mention, and it's always the most important thing that I always forget
Is that right?
mention. That's the one. Yes, that's the one. You see, that one. It's gonna be 42 in total.
Okay.
And these places remind me of places that my family used to talk about. They used to go when they were little.
Right.
So none of those are real places yet. In my mind, like that's a place like that
right.
I know that it reminds me of a place,
right?
And it's just funny because I've never been to those places, but it is all around. And I'm sharing that also at the end of, because I'm have a few posts on those, so I'm sharing all the 42 together, sort of in a wallpaper thing.
Oh, nice. Right.
And, I don't know. I think I'm pretty happy about it.
Right. No, I think that, yeah, those are very interesting. And again, it goes back to the makes you want to kind of look at it, or explore it a little bit more because you're not sure. Is that a beach or is it not a beach?
Yeah, exactly. It's like, what is it? What's going on there?
Right.
And I sort of like have memories like this one. It reminds me of a place called Quintero, which is a beach town. But it doesn't remind me of the place today. It reminds me of that place back in early 80s when my family used to talk about it. And back then I never went there. So there's no way I will be able to have this memory. So it's just a collective of memories for me.
Right.
Because as soon as I saw it, I was just like, oh, that's this place.
Yeah, that your family also gets the same vibe.
Yeah.
From that.
Yeah.
Yes, they can
from that,
see
and
that.
Then and from the other images as well, they could tell. And then I have a few videos that that they also saw, and they like it reminds them of it. So I think I find AI very interesting, how it makes you think.
Right.
Analyze it and use it. In my case, in this particular series, it's about memory, but I did not know it was about memory.
It evolved into memories.
When I saw the images, when I was working on them, and I was just like, oh my God, this is what it is. And I think a lot of times with art, you realize it afterwards what it's about. Lots of works that it is after the fact that everything is done. I was like, oh, this is about this thing that I was going through my head.
Right. Well, sculptors often, take their piece of granite or whatever they're using to sculpt with, and they discover what is in the piece of rock or whatever they're using.
Yeah.
But so I think that's how it feels to me for when you were describing this, is that it kind of unfolded as you were developing it.
I think that's what
Intuitively
art is.
almost.
I think art is that. It's sort of like, because now people use the word, I'm collaborating with the AI, I'm collaborating with this, with that. And I feel that art has always been a collaboration. Because
Right.
when you're in front of a canvas and you're painting, it's a collaboration. It's sort of with the paint. The paint
Right.
is telling you what to do. It's just sort of like, I need this, or take this away. And with drawing, with sculpture, with ceramic, is always like, I think the medium, what you're making, is telling you where to go. So I think that collaboration, how it's used today, that it's like, oh, it's a new thing, like, oh, I'm collaborating with the AI, I'm collaborating with the code, I'm collaborating with this. Is like, it's not new. I feel that it's always been there for artists, because a lot of my work is usually, I stop working on it when the painting tells me to stop.
Right.
You know, a photograph, I know that it's ready because it's just telling me that it's ready. Like, I used to work in black and white photography all the time, because that's what I felt more comfortable, and that's what I sort of like it called for.
Right.
And then all of a sudden, from when I was taking a few photographs, and I was just like, oh, I insisted that they be black and white, and I kept on editing them in black and white. And it wasn't working. And then I was like, you know what, let's just do it. Let's just put color in this thing. And then when I just allowed the color to go through, it was like, oh, so you wanted color all along. Like, the photo wanted to be color. I didn't want it to be color. I as the artist wanted a black and white. I wanted grayscale. I wanted those gray tones in it. But the piece didn't. The piece wanted to be color. So I think a collaboration, it's constant in whatever you're making and whatever tool you're using.
Right. Well, and I think, being mindful of that is really important as you're working through things. I mean, and being 1,000% you, and that's what comes out in your work.
I think you can't be anybody else when you're an artist. And when you're an artist that just doing, because there's different type of artists that just, the artists that do things for brands and they need to just do for them. But when you talk to them, they're always like, oh, I wish I could just express myself differently, or I could do this differently. And so when you're an artist and this is just your work is to express yourself or to talk about something,
right?
You have to be honest with who you are,
right?
Because otherwise, why are you doing it?
Right. Well, so many people don't know who they are. That's the problem.
It's true. I went to therapy for a very long time. I wouldn't figure it out. I wouldn't know who I am without her. So I'd be lost.
Art can be therapy for a lot of people. I mean, I think that's what, I dove back into it on a daily practice because it is my therapy. And, if I don't do it, I get a little stir crazy.
Yeah. They tell me people at home as well. They're like, have you done any group? When I'm working with digital so much, sometimes it goes week, oh, digital. And then I don't notice it, but I think I'm a little crankier because in the house they go, why didn't you just go painting? Why didn't have you painted lately? And I look at them like, what? I don't know if I get insulted or not. And it seems like there's this physical thing to it. It just releases something. But I'm really excited about my digital work. I love it because it gives me the same sensation of a painting. Like when I'm with these images, I'm just curious about what it's gonna give to me. I feel like I'm sort of learning a secret. The image is giving me something that no one else knows.
Right.
And it's just telling me this. So I always feel that it's just I wanna, how do I say? I wanna have it imperfect because that's my brain. It's everything has to be perfect, and if this is yellow, it's gonna be yellow, and the next is gonna be a red. It has to be a straight line with the red and the yellow. It can't be mixed. Right. But then in art, it's just gonna mix. That line is not gonna be straight, and it just I like that not being sure. I like that experimental aspect on it.
Right.
Of just the expectation of what the piece is going to give me. And I think digital art for me, it gives me that.
Right.
It gives me the same thing as when I'm doing a painting or with watercolor, because you have to just manage the water, the stain, this and that. So I like those surprises that the art gives you.
Right.
Exciting.
That's, yeah, I mean, I agree with you. That's kind of, that's how I work too. You know, it just kind of reveals itself to me. So, yeah. So I will, I think we've been, it's been a wonderful talking to you. I loved hearing about your story and all the things that you're up to and integrating technology. And you have some exciting things coming up. I want to make sure that we let viewers know about your show. So if you could send that to me, I will post it out on a summary link or whatever to the show so that people can, and I'd like to attend and check out your show. Is it in Spanish only, or do you do English?
It's in Spanish. We usually do the podcast. It's in Spanish, and we record it, and then we just a few weeks later we release it. I'm planning to have like one English, because it's for a month, so one of those 4 to be in English, so have it a bilingual. Because I keep on meeting a lot of artists, and I think we all need a platform to just show, and then it's very relaxed. Like I think a lot of art shows, not with us here, but all the spaces are very serious.
Right.
And I was like, most artists that I know, we have this conversation that we've been having, that it's, you laugh a little bit, you relax.
Right.
And the podcast is like that. It's also, we just want another person.
Right. Well, like we said before, it's not a lot of opportunity for artists to be able to share their story and give an overview of your background. I think that's really important for collectors, especially, to know who you are as an artist and to know that you're going to stay. This isn't a fad for you. You didn't join NFTs just to, shill or whatever, but
this is part of who we are. I mean, you know it as well. Like you work every day. If there was no NFTs, you would still be doing it.
Right. Exactly. I mean, I used to or I still do really, give away my art as presents at Christmas, things that I've done.
Yeah.
If nobody wants them, I'm going to give it to you. No.
Because then you have so many. I have a storage. I have 2 storage units full of artwork.
Wow.
I keep on making, and then I have art supplies in 2 countries.
Right. That's why I like digital so much. I don't need a whole big, studio to keep it all in, because that's a lot of space.
It takes a lot of space. I have, and here when I moved here, and I just make it really short, instead of like just going to buy furniture right away, I went to the art store and I bought like the basic art supplies. I could just and now I know the people at the store. Like now we're friends.
That's
and
right.
I still don't have a sofa. So.
That's funny. Well, thank you so much for your time. I know that's valuable. Thanks for everybody who's tuned in and enjoyed our conversation. I appreciate that. We will do this again next Wednesday, same time, same place. And so, yeah, we'll see you online. Thank you, Layla.
Thank you very much. Thank you for everyone that came and to listen to us talk about art. I really appreciate it. Thanks.
Oh, you're very welcome.
Thank you for the time. Thank you for allowing me to come and just rumble about it.
No, it's perfect. We learned a lot, and I appreciate that. So,
thank you.
All right. Take care, everybody.
Goodbye.
Bye. All right. I'm going to end the broadcast.